Welcome to Women of the World, a show which gives a voice to women from around the world who have chosen to make the United States their home. Our show believes in the message written on and embodied by the Statue of Liberty. Here is today's moderator, Ann McKenna.
Welcome, viewers. My name is Ann McKenna, moderating the show today, and I'm accompanied by wonderful co-hosts and wonderful guests to the show. In today's show, we're going to be speaking about ethnic foods, and we'll also have some demonstrations. But first, I would like to start by introducing our co-host to the show today, starting with Uma Janga. Hi, Uma.
Hi, McKenna. Oh, it's great to be here.
Well, welcome to the show. It's so good to see you.
Same here, too.
And next is Amalia Damgaard. Hello, Amalia.
Hello, Anne. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Great.
I'm so glad you would be here today.
I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I have the pleasure to introduce to you two wonderful guests to the show. First is my daughter, Sally Mwendwa-McKenna. Hello, Sally.
Hi, Anne.
It's good to see you.
Thank you for inviting me over.
You are so welcome. And we have Dr. Hema Menon with us. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you. And now, we are going to start speaking about the traditions. Would you please share with us some of the ethnic traditions pertaining to food and how you incorporate them to your life here in United States?
Absolutely. Well, me being of Indian ethnic origin, I've tried to get a lot of it back here since I grew up in India, watch my mom cook Indian food, so which is full of spices and flavor. So every time I make a visit to India, I try to make sure that I get some of the spices that I miss over here. Well, times have changed. I would say that we are able to get a lot of it over here in the US as well, but the main tradition is, my goal is to make sure my daughter gets to relish the same type of food that I have. I guess Uma and Amalia agrees with that as well.
Oh, definitely. It's not about that too. You know, kids here, when we come here, the spices that we use, we like to eat it hot, but kids, they like only mild dishes.
Absolutely.
But that's the only thing. I really want them to, I really wish if they can more like, adapt to more spices like us. But at least they're giving it a try. But it's good to see our tradition is not going away. And it's really nice to see that.
I guess in my view, I see that the Latino demographic is growing here in the Twin Cities. And when I just first came to the United States, it was hard to find ingredients.
Yes.
And yet I brought some ingredients back with me, but there are restrictions as you cannot bring fresh ingredients.
Yes.
And those are the ingredients that I miss the most. And nowadays you can find a lot of the ingredients, yet still not a lot of the ingredients. But so I have learned to improvise, and I've learned to make substitutions by testing flavors and just by adapting recipes to flavors that are the closest to the flavors that I'm looking for.
That's awesome. Sally, do you like Kenyan food or do you like American food?
Kenyan.
You like Kenyan food?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I also find that whenever we go to Kenya, we bring a lot of the spices from Kenya. But it's true. We tend to also find a lot of spices here, which is a good thing. Do you think some of the ethnic foods that we eat is more healthy in certain ways? Some of the traditions with foods, how do you compare them when it comes to nutritional factors?
I would, yes, I think the biggest factor now, if you look into the health aspect of it, a lot of the spices are back into the big agenda of the health geek, what you would say. Turmeric, which is very commonly used in Indian cooking pretty much on a regular basis, is supposed to be very healthy and anti-inflammatory. And the pepper, the cayenne pepper, that's healthy, it helps to lose weight. So you name it and you have it all over there. So I would definitely agree it's there. So it's all about using it in moderation and balancing it out. So
Definitely, yeah, because many of the traditional dishes involves a lot more time and have a lot more fat too, because they are very tasty.
Yes.
If they have to be tasty, we have to add more butter, and it involves a lot of process too. So yeah, like she said, yep, if anything in moderation, it would be perfect.
Yes.
I think all foods have a healthy and an unhealthy aspect
Yes.
to them. And what I do in my kitchen is I choose to go the healthy way. So instead of cooking with lard, which is customary in some cultures in Latin America, I choose to cook with olive oil and canola. But certainly one can choose not only spices, but peppers as well, as they mentioned, but lime juice, vinegar, and a lot of dry spices that are on the stronger side, so that you don't miss the flavors and that you don't have to add a lot of salt, because that's also another hot topic today. Not eating too much salt because of hypertension,
Yes.
not eating too much sugar for obvious reasons, because it's higher calories, and in general, just making food healthier by just eating, at home more often, right? Because that's where you can control all these aspects a lot more, rather than eating at a restaurant. Certainly, eating at a fast food restaurant, you cannot control a lot of the fat, sugar, and so on.
I agree with the eating at home more, because basically you are choosing exactly what you are eating, what you are putting in your food, what you are feeding your children. I think it's a great choice, and it ends up costing less. You end up saving on it as well. Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really important too, to teach our children, speaking of children, about healthy foods, is definitely to eat at home, and not only eat at home, but to cook with them in the
Yes,
kitchen. One of the things that I
absolutely.
have done with my own son, even younger than Sally's age, he cooked with me from the time that he was, 2.5 years old or 3.5 years old,
Good for
until he left home just recently. He went to the university. He moved out of state, but that empowered him to not be intimidated by the kitchen, be familiar with healthy foods, fresh foods, be familiar with what is processed and what is not.
Definitely, yeah.
That's awesome. We're going to make transition and start the cooking segment, and we can continue to hold these conversations as you demonstrate to us. So we are going to have Dr. Hema demonstrate some ethnic dishes, as well as Amalia. So let's transition to that and continue to hold these conversations.
Great.
Right.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our demonstration segment of the show, and we'll have Hema demonstrate for us. Hello.
hi, Anna. I'm going to make today a traditional North Indian dish, which is called paneer butter masala. Paneer is basically Indian cottage cheese. It's kind of a pressed cheese, and it's easily available in the Indian stores, and kids love it. And this is what most of my American friends do try it out when they ever visit the Indian restaurants. So it's a very quick dish, and I will let you know how to make it. All we need is some onions, ginger, and garlic. So I'm gonna kind of saute this first, and I've kind of put in all the three. It includes onion, and usually I like to use the red onions, because the flavor of the red onion is a little bit more better for Indian dishes. The white onions are a little bit sweeter most of the time, so it
I
doesn't
did
go
not
well.
know that.
They're a little bit sweeter. Do you
Okay.
agree, Amalia?
All onions taste different. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I like to use that. So this one, I'm kind of sauteing the ginger, garlic, and onions, and you don't need to brown it all the way, a little bit. So you kind of get the rawness out of all the three vegetables, and once that's done, we just mix a little bit of tomatoes as well. So the tomatoes, it's very tangy. That's the main source of this the dish. It kind of adds the sweet and sourness to it. So once this is done, we just add a little bit of the tomatoes as well. And here I'm just diced 1 tomatoes.
So do you have recipe, or do you just kind of measure little bits of this?
You kind of make it based on the amount of the quantity that I need. So typically, if you want to make for a group of 4 people, probably 1 onion and tomato and 2 garlic and a small piece of ginger, 2 inches of ginger is more than enough. So you kind of just saute all this so the tomato is softened up a little bit.
And do you add ginger, garlic, grind the ginger,
I
garlic?
don't grind it. I know that it's done a lot of different versions, but I find this to be the easiest way because I like to saute it first, so the rawness is gone before we actually. Otherwise, if I use the paste right away, the raw smell kind of, it takes a little longer to take that rawness away. So I just try this out. I try to find the easiest way out. Let me just put it that way.
So
right? We need to do that.
In other words, she must be a very good cook, because good cooks cook with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They taste, they adjust, and so on. And that's the way I grew up cooking.
Yeah, me too. I
went to chef school.
I never learned recipes.
So she must be a very good cook.
I'm not so sure about that, but when you really don't have much time and you want a dish done, so you just come up with ways to fix it, right?
But you should have passion too, right? So
I do.
Out.
Yes, absolutely.
And also experience, because experience tells you how much you need for how many people.
Yes.
It's been almost 10 years, I would say. I just started cooking after I got married. I'll just be honest. Not prior to that, I've never entered a kitchen. So now I have no option. I have to cook for my family. So you just come up with new versions.
That's the best way to learn.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just adding a little bit of cashews. Cashew nuts actually add a little bit of nice flavor to it, the creaminess. So you can add, if you're allergic to cashews, you can add even almonds. Almonds are also good, but I wouldn't recommend any other nuts or ingredients to kind of add to that. Butter can be used instead of oil as well. That adds to the flavor, but trying to stay a little bit healthier, so just a little bit of oil.
Olive oil.
Once this is all done, what we do is we kind of grind it down after it's cool. And well, I already have the ground version over here, so I'm going to transfer this to one of the containers over here. And then what I'm going to do is use the ground version to continue the dishes.
Smells wonderful.
It does.
So now the spices are yet to come in. So once that's done,
it's amazing. Ginger, garlic itself has so much flavor to it. And you add that to any dish, it enhances.
Yes, so this is the ground paste that I have from all of this. And I'm just going to increase the heat over here. So how does it smell, Sally? Good.
How do you feel about,
you
I've
getting
seen a lot of these pastes and sauces and so on. They are in jars. How do you feel about buying those?
I usually get all my spices from India, most of it, because my mother-in-law, she is an avid cook more, so she kind of, she loves to give me all the ground spices. And so for the most part of it, my mom and my mother-in-law gives me most of the spices. There are a few spices that I just get it from here. I just fear that it could be a little bit adulterated over here, sometimes the ones that we buy from the packet. But there will be a day when I run out of it, so I have no choice. That is, I'm going eating the Indian store, right? So now I'm going to add the spices that we talked about earlier. So turmeric a little bit.
The turmeric
just
is
a-
great.
yes.
Definitely the turmeric, there you grind it. You get the turmeric pieces and you grind it, so you get the fresh turmeric.
And this is from my home, so I just love it. And kind of include that in pretty much even my morning smoothies as well. So a little bit of cayenne pepper, which I'm adding. And this is an allspice powder, which is what we call garam masala. It has cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom. Yeah, thanks, Uma. All the four. And sometimes they add a little bit more to it, but my allspice powder just has these 4 ingredients. That kind of adds the aroma to the Indian cooking and also the flavor to
taste,
it.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And turmeric also adds a lot of color, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And sometimes I tend to add a little bit more towards the end as well. When I'm at
It's also seen to be very healthy.
yes,
It
absolutely.
does have
It has significant anti-inflammatory properties,
Yes.
so it really helps. So it's kind of sauteed really well. I have to add my main ingredient, a little bit of salt. There's nothing that tastes good without salt. So now that's done, I'm going to add my cottage cheese. So this is also called paneer in India. So we kind of add that. So these are really solid chunks, and I've kind of cut it already.
Did you make those
Ooh,
at
it
home?
smells good.
No, I didn't make those. I'm not that often have it cooked. This takes a long time, so absolutely not. So you can add a little bit of water to kind of increase, if you want a little liquid consistency, depending on how you're serving it. Usually this dish is served with rotis, what we call chapatis, or sometimes we have it with rice as well. So there is nothing like it should be had only with a particular dish. So I use it for both rice and chapati. And now we are almost done. And
Chapati is amazing.
yes, it's just wheat flour pressed into just like tortilla.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
you use corn for tortilla. I
You
guess
like
we use
chapati,
wheat flour.
right?
I've seen a version of these made with coconut.
Coconut. That's interesting.
I have
okay.
a friend from India, and she must be from the southern part of India,
Okay.
which is tropical in nature, and they use a lot of coconut. So she makes a version of this with coconut, grated
Interesting.
coconut, and they are
what
absolutely
is
delicious,
this
totally
and what
different
is
flavor.
Yeah.
What is this and what is it
This,
made
Sally, is dried fenugreek leaves, okay? What we call, this is kind of, you don't add a lot, you just add a little bit, otherwise too much, it makes it a lot bitter, okay? So it adds, it's just like garnishing towards the end, and we are all done. We can just add a little bit of cream towards the end to kind of make it a little bit more creamy. Again, as I said, it depends on the consistency, how much you want. So I'm just adding a little bit of cream towards the end. Our done dish is over here. So here we have paneer butter masala.
Awesome.
To try some.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Looks so yummy.
Yes.
Well, thanks for watching as we transition to the next demonstration by Amalia Moreno-Damgaard. Hello, viewers. Welcome back. We have Amalia doing another demo of an ethnic dish. Welcome, Amalia.
Thank you, Anna. So what I'm making today is one of my favorite breakfasts. So I'm making 2 dishes that are very quick. And eggs and beans. This is the perfect vegetarian meal. So if you're vegetarian, you're gonna love this. Not only is delicious, but it's super, super easy, and anyone can make this at home. So we start with a hot pan, and I'm gonna cook the first one, and this is going to be a bean puree. And think of black beans, they're hard. You cook them in water and for roughly 2.5 hours. If you cook them from scratch.
Yes.
You can buy bean puree as well at the store in a can, and from there you can do what I am doing now. This is cooked from scratch. So from the time I cook the beans, I puree them in a blender with very little liquid to get a paste that looks like this. Okay. This is a staple in my home country, and it's really, really easy to eat vegetarian in Latin America because many dishes are not only gluten-free, naturally gluten-free, that is, but some of them are also very conducive to vegetarian eating, like this meal. So we're gonna start with onion. We're gonna add some garlic. And normally when I make this at home, I want the onion to become really, really dark brown because the flavor is much better.
Yes.
When it's like this, it's going to be okay, but say you're making this at home, you want to brown it a little bit more, okay?
Right,
We don't
right.
have that much time, so I'm telling you that because I would like it a little browner, okay? I have 2 dishes to make. So the next thing we're going to do is, at this point, you can flavor this however you want.
Yes.
The traditional dish is basically this and the bean paste and salt. That's it.
Okay.
And it tastes really good because the secret here is to
Is
let
the
the onion in really, really brown because it becomes sweet. And just think that when you roast something, you know, that browning really, really adds a lot of flavor. So I want to add more flavor to this. And what I could do today is I could add cilantro, I could add some bay leaves, I could add some chili paste. And this, I love these tubes that you can buy at the grocery store because this is a very, very nice way to add flavor to any dish.
Oh, I never
Okay.
seen this.
Yeah.
So
this is amazing.
this is the land of convenience, and when you go to the grocery store, there are a lot of things that are already made for you. So pretend that this is really, really brown onion, right, with chili paste, cooked in canola oil, and now we are going to add the bean paste.
Okay.
And from here, we are just basically going to combine it with the onion and the garlic and the bean paste and heat it up, and this is it. So this is a dish that you can use as a side dish to go with rice, and actually rice and beans together make one whole protein. Those who
Yes.
are vegetarians know really well what that means, right? Because when you're a vegetarian and you're not eating you're not getting your protein from animal products,
Yes.
then you have to make sure that you get the right combination of legumes and also starches to make one whole protein. Okay, so at this point you can see that it's ready to be sauteed, and I like to
Wow. That's
lift
amazing.
like this. It has to be hot underneath, right? So really, really hot for this to happen. So this is the traditional way to make this dish, and I'm just gonna go and serve it like this. And we're gonna go into the next one. The next thing is going to be garnish it with a little bit of cheese, and this is fresh cheese. Latin American cheeses tend to be on the fresh side, meaning that they are not aged for very long. Okay, so I am going to
Do you
switch.
freeze some of your beans when you boil the beans from the start? Do you freeze them or do you boil each time with your cooking?
Do I freeze them?
Yes.
You can. Actually, you know, when I make beans, usually I make a lot of them.
Yes.
And this is just a small quantity
That's
for me.
kind of what I do.
And so I let them cool down, and then I freeze them flat on a Ziploc bag. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is you stuff them in a Ziploc bag, and then you press them flat, you seal it, you get all the air out, and then you label them, because once they're in the freezer, you know, you forget what things are, right? Because
Right. Very
everything
true.
starts looking the same. And
Yes.
I'm going to have you hold this on the side and to put it down, because I don't know if it's going to burn the...
it's
I wouldn't
hot.
put it down.
It's not.
It's hot.
I wouldn't put it down.
I know.
So the next thing is going to be my favorite egg dish. And this is going to use, again, canola oil. We're going to use some diced Roma tomatoes,
Okay.
onion again, and this is the basis of a sauce called sofrito, right? This is the way it starts. Sofrito is a classic, a basic sauce in Latin American cooking that is a base for rice dishes, soups, stews and salsas, just like this one. So this is at a very, very basic level because we have 2 ingredients. From here, you know, you go from Latin American country to country, and then everybody makes it their own, right? So you could add garlic, you could add olives, you could add other things, and then you can throw this on top of grilled chicken and so on. Or you can eat it raw, and you can add some lime and some herbs and so on. Today we're going to cook it. Okay, so this is a basic sofrito, and this is going to be combined with eggs, and the next thing we're going to do is add some kosher salt.
Okay.
And we let this cook for a little bit, and basically there are different kinds of eggs that I like to make so that I don't get tired of them. And when my son was growing up, I used to have him sit in front of me because at home I have a stove in the middle of the center island, and then people can sit around me. So I would have my son right before we went to school, and I would have him watch me every single day. Before we went to school, I'd make breakfast for him, a different style every time. And I'll say, okay, this is how you can use, you know, sofrito. And today we are going to make scrambled eggs, but I would give it a cute name, and I'll say, I'll make a fluffy egg today, and I'll tell you what that means. So I would take my eggs, and I would break the eggs, and then I would go with my whisk, and I would whisk, and I would give it to Hema. Okay, you whisk. Okay, while I am cooking this, you whisk.
Yes.
And what this does is this puts air into the egg mixture, and the more you whisk, the more air you put in, the fluffier it gets. And that's where the fluffy egg comes from. And this is a name that he came up with, okay? This is scrambled eggs with tomatoes and onions. That's the name of the dish. Say you go to Colombia, and they have a version of this dish, and then they add this green peppers to it, okay? Wow. And then that becomes what they call huevos pericos. Pericos means parrot, okay? And the name is because it has usually a green bell pepper in it. So at this point, we are just going to make scrambled eggs, and we're gonna let this cook through until it's smooth. And you see my stove here is pretty fast. I'm going to raise the flame so that it's done even faster.
That's great. That looks really good.
Okay, so this sauce, if you make, say, sunny side up eggs, you make the sunny side up eggs first, then you put them on your plate, and then you make the sofrito sauce last, and then you put the sauce on top. Okay? Wow. So that's another version of this. Or you can make poached eggs and use that sauce for the poached eggs as well. Or you can make soft-boiled eggs, and then this sauce, after it's cooked, we blend it. You know, I take an immersion blender if I'm making this in a tall pot, and then that's another version using the same ingredients. That's
Lovely.
it.
Lovely.
So what's in here on the plate is a corn tortilla that if you're serving this as a breakfast dish, normally this is going to go on the same plate. So you get a little bit of the eggs and a little bit of the beans on the side. And the way I like to serve it is I put the corn tortillas on the bottom. And if that doesn't look delicious already, it can look even better. Because the other thing that we can do to add spice and zest, we can add some fresh jalapenos that have been pickled in a little bit of vinegar and spices with onions and carrots.
Well, thank you very much for the demonstrations. We are running out of time, so thank you for showing us to do that. And to our viewers, thank you very much for joining us. See you next time at Women of the World. Bye.